Well, hello, my friends, and welcome once again to the Romano Report Podcast. Today is Monday, August 18th. Now, I've got a few things I want to talk about in today's podcast, but I just want to begin by acknowledging what is going on at the White House today. As you know, our convicted felon president is hosting Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, along with several other European leaders, to talk about ending the war between Russia and Ukraine. Now, I've already said what I think is going on in this meeting and what I think needs to be said about this. I made my remarks in a video that I posted earlier today on the Romano Report. If you have not seen that video, I strongly encourage you to do so. I will put a link in the description below, so please check that out. I don't want to repeat myself here. And so far, nothing has come out of today that would change anything that I said in that video. And since I recorded that, Trump and Zelensky met in the Oval Office for the cameras, took questions. He did not attack Zelensky the way he did last time, but he said many things that were unhinged, as he usually does since he is unhinged. But I'm not going to comment on any of that crap here or now. I just wanted to acknowledge that that's going on and please encourage you to please watch that video. I will say this, though, not about anything that Trump said, but about the media coverage of what's going on at the White House today. I watched the meeting between Trump and Zelensky, and then I listened to some of the commentary on cable news afterward. And it sickens me, to be quite frank with you, as does the commentary surrounding Trump's meeting with Putin in Alaska. And what sickens me about it is that they report the news in a way that Donald Trump wants them to report it. And they take Trump at his word in all of this. When he says that he just loves everybody. You know, he said he loves the people of Ukraine and he loves the people of Russia and he loves everybody and he just wants to see the killing come to an end and he just wants to stop the war. That's bullshit. That's not his interest. He doesn't love anybody. This narcissist is incapable of loving anyone, including his own children. So this is bullshit. And he doesn't care about ending the war. That's not his goal. Now, he's happy to have the war end, as I explained in my earlier video, but only if he's able to do so on terms that are favorable to Putin. And not just favorable, but that give Putin everything he wants. He is not there as a representative of the American people. He is there as a representative of Vladimir Putin. That is the truth of Donald Trump's role in all of this. Yet that's not what we get from the media. Now, I don't expect the media to say that. But can the media not even question Trump's motives here? Donald Trump, at every turn, has taken Putin's side. Vladimir Putin is perhaps the only world leader that Donald Trump has never spoken out against. And it seems our press, our media, is completely unable or unwilling to even raise these questions, to question his motives. Donald Trump is a pathological liar. That is not disputable. He lies about virtually everything. He lied many times in the meeting today with him and Zelensky. He lies constantly, yet they never question his truthfulness. So when he says he loves people and he just wants the war to end, they take that at face value and they frame their reporting as if that is Donald Trump's true motive. They don't even question what his motive might be, or that his motive might be anything other than that. You know, the press in other countries does a much better job of covering Donald Trump than our own press does. Man, I thought I had an example here, but I closed that out looking at my computer here. Yes, here we go. Here is an example of foreign media at least raising questions of Trump's motivation. Let me show this to you here. Here is the Irish Times. This was from, I believe, a couple months ago. I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time here. Let me get this. Dadgummit, shrink, man. Fit the page. Okay, this is from the Irish Times. They raise the question of whether or not Donald Trump is being blackmailed. Headline, the idea that the Kremlin has compromised on Trump seems increasingly plausible. If the White House capitulates to Putin on Ukraine, it will grossly and perhaps fatally betray the principles on which NATO is founded. And so, as I said, this was from, what was this? Back in June. And the piece goes on to point out how Donald Trump seems to do Putin's bidding at every turn and raises the very serious question of whether or not Putin, former KGB, P, did I say P? That was a hard B. Former KGB might have compromise on Trump. That is blackmail evidence on Trump. But you never see our media even raise this question. Never even raise it, despite the fact that Donald Trump's own director of national intelligence during his first administration, Dan Coates, after leaving the administration, publicly questioned whether or not Putin does have compromise on Trump. He couldn't explain the way Donald Trump behaves towards Putin. He had no explanation for it. And he wonders whether or not he is being blackmailed by Putin. Trump's own director of national intelligence. That happened. He said that. And yet still, our pathetic, worthless press, they don't even question it. And it just makes me sick to hear the coverage, even on places like MSNBC, reporting on Donald Trump as if his motives are what he says they are. They just take him at his word. Makes me sick. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that for now. Got a couple other things I want to talk about here. Came across this post on Twitter over the weekend, I believe it was today. So this would have been Saturday, from Marjorie Taylor Greene. She posted a video of a woman in her car, very upset, crying because she can't afford. She can't afford basic necessities. She can't afford food for her family. And she just doesn't know what to do. And she posts this video, and Marjorie Taylor Greene reposts it. Let me show you. She reposts this. Let me expand this now. Sorry. Here we go. Can you see that? So she says, I'm seeing videos like this routinely. The hard-working middle class is becoming the working poor. This is absolutely unacceptable. Let me play you a little of this poor woman. Now, I don't know anything about this woman. Don't know if she's a Trump voter or what her deal is. Doesn't really matter. Let's play it.
If anybody's feeling the same way I'm feeling, I'm from Illinois, and I feel like the gas prices and the electric bills and the prices of food is just so overwhelming anymore. Like, I'm wondering if anybody else is feeling like they're drowning and they can't get out.
Okay, you get the flavor. I don't want to play this whole thing. But she goes on to talk about how she's having to go to food pantries and all of this kind of thing. And so Marjorie Taylor Greene posted, come on, man, help me out here. There we go. Marjorie Taylor, come on, man. Me and my technical abilities. So Marjorie Taylor Greene posts this. I'm seeing videos like this routinely. The hard-working middle class is becoming the working poor. This is absolutely unacceptable. Yet, Marjorie Taylor Greene voted for the big, beautiful bill, which is making all the problems for the hard-working middle class and the working poor in this country even worse. She just made everything worse for these people. The people just like this poor woman crying in her car. Now, I will say, I'm not a religious follower of Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm not familiar with everything she posts and says. But I have seen many posts from her and video clips of her over the last several months where she's actually kind of parted ways with Donald Trump, certainly over Epstein and some other things. If there is anyone who has heretofore been hardcore MAGA that I can actually see maybe turning on Trump, it would be Marjorie Taylor Greene. Now, she's a kook, that is for sure. She has been just one of these mindless Trump humpers. But she also, unlike the others, she tends to be a true believer in the philosophy that she seems to hold, such as it is. I'm not defending her philosophy or her positions on anything, but she doesn't just blindly follow Trump in all things. Now, I haven't seen her go from acknowledging that the hardworking middle class is becoming the working poor and that things are getting worse for people and that this is unacceptable. I haven't seen her go from there to connect the dots to Trump policy. Of course, I don't exactly expect her to do that because she voted for this Trump policy that makes all of this worse. But who knows? Maybe she'll get there. That would be a big deal if she did, because a lot of maggots follow her. And she might be able to bring people over. But that's probably wishful thinking that she'll ever get there. But as for right now, I mean, how long into the Trump presidency will she be commenting like this and not taking the next logical step of blaming Trump? And we're 6 months in. I'm sure she's still blaming Biden for all this. But at what point does she stop blaming Biden and start blaming Trump? Maybe never. Maybe we'll be 3.5 years into this and she'll still be blaming Biden. I don't know. But the fact remains that this vile woman voted for this. And I see she's not the only one who points out how hard it is for working Americans to even afford the basics of life anymore. And yet all of these friggin' Republicans voting for this big, beautiful bill is making it hard for all of these people. Harder for all of these people. Trump is destroying the economy with his tariffs and his incompetence. He and Marjorie Taylor Greene and the rest are taking health care from the working poor. You know, a lot of people on Medicaid work. The working poor are called the working poor because they're poor, but they're working. Kind of what makes them the working poor. And they can't afford their own health insurance because many of the jobs that the working poor are doing don't provide health insurance. And they can't afford to purchase it on the open market. Even these plans in the exchanges are incredibly expensive if you're going to try to buy a plan for yourself or for your family. And so what do you do then? You're working, but you don't get health insurance through your work. And you can't afford to buy it through the exchanges. Your only other option is Medicaid. So a lot of the working poor are on Medicaid. And Trump is taking that away from many of them. Marjorie Taylor Greene is taking that away from many of them. And SNAP benefits, food assistance for the working poor, taking that away from them. So, to Marjorie Taylor Greene, spare me your phony concern for people like this woman. And if this woman voted for Trump, I don't know if she did or not, but there are a lot of people in her exact circumstance who did. There are a lot of people out there, maybe not this woman, maybe this woman, who are working and struggling to get by, going to food pantries, panicking because the cost of everything, they can't afford things now, and yet the price of everything is going up even more. And a lot of them voted for Donald Trump, believe in the bullshit, because they watch Fox News or they watch whatever other propaganda media. By the way, did you see that Newsmax reached a settlement with Dominion? I believe they're going to pay Dominion $67 million for the lies they told about the 2020 election. And yet many of these Trump humpers support Donald Trump because they watch Newsmax and OAN and Fox News, all of whom lied about the election and lie about virtually everything having to do with Donald Trump. And they believe the lies. And they are convinced to vote against their own self-interest because they believe the lies. Now, let's take a look at a couple other things that are impacting these people, what they voted for, these Trump humpers who voted for him. Here's an article: job market gloom hasn't been this bad since the Great Recession. That's how things are going in this country right now. As of early August, pessimism was in step with that of the 2008 financial crisis. So that's how bad things are right now. People are now so pessimistic about the economy and their own financial situation going forward that they haven't been this pessimistic since the Great Recession of 2008. And that includes the Biden years. They weren't this pessimistic at any point during the Biden presidency, when many of these Trump humpers were convinced that we were living through the worst economy since the Great Depression. That's what they were told. And many of them believed it. And now just 6 months later, they are so pessimistic. Why am I having a hard time speaking today? That they haven't been that bad, that down on the future of the economy and their own personal finances since 2008. What else do we have? Oh, here we go. Electricity prices are climbing more than twice as fast as inflation. How about that? Because inflation is also going up. Oh, by the way, here's something I wasn't planning on talking about here, but it just clicked. Did you see the 60 Minutes Australia piece on Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein that I guess aired yesterday? It's good. Of course, 60 Minutes here in this country doesn't do that. Of course, they can't. They're not allowed to, because 60 Minutes is a CBS production, and CBS is owned by Paramount. And Paramount, which is controlled by Sherry Redstone, she has the controlling interest in Paramount, is in bed with Donald Trump. In fact, she settled a lawsuit, a frivolous lawsuit that Donald Trump brought against CBS for an interview that 60 Minutes did during the campaign with Kamala Harris. Trump sued 60 Minutes because Trump didn't like the interview. Completely frivolous, baseless, no merit to it whatsoever lawsuit he filed. And so Sherry Redstone and CBS settled it, paid Trump, I forget now, what was it, like $15 million or something? Paid him millions of dollars to settle this bullshit lawsuit because Paramount had a merger with, I believe, what is it, Skydance? Anyway, she wanted this merger to go through, and it needed approval by the federal government. So she settled the lawsuit as a bribe to Trump for preferential treatment and for approval of the merger. Now, 60 Minutes is owned by Paramount. There's no way that they would ever be allowed to do a story like 60 Minutes Australia did. By the way, that is why, I'm sure in part, why the executive producer of 60 Minutes, I forget his name at the moment, but he early on in the Trump administration quit. And he made it clear that he was not being allowed by the execs there at CBS, who were probably getting their marching orders from Paramount and Sherry Redstone. He was not going to be allowed to do the kind of stories on 60 Minutes that they have always done. And I believe he's been there for a long time. But it was made clear to him that they were not allowed to report accurately on Donald Trump anymore. Let's be frank. So he quit. Rather than go along and basically cede to Trump's demands on how they do their work at 60 Minutes, he quit. So good for him. Anyway, what made me think of the 60 Minutes thing, by the way, it's on the internet. You got to see it. It's really good. It has some interviews with a couple of, or at least one, as I recall, rape victim of Jeffrey Epstein, who says, yeah, Donald Trump is absolutely lying about his involvement. Anyway, you got to see it. It's good. But in that 60 Minutes, in that show, setting up one of the segments, the host was a woman, I don't know her name. She said that, Donald Trump got elected despite all of the crimes that he was accused of, despite the having been found liable for sexually abusing a woman and fraud and on and on and on, all that stuff. He was nonetheless reelected. He got the votes of a majority of Americans. A majority of the Americans voted for him. That bothered me because that's not true. He didn't even get a majority of the people who voted. He got close, but he only won a plurality. He won 49% of the people who voted. There were literally tens of millions of people who didn't vote at all. In fact, the number of people who were eligible to vote and who didn't vote was greater than either the number of people who voted for Trump or Harris in the last election. So it is not even close to true that a majority of Americans voted for Donald Trump. So that pissed me off. There was something else she said. Escapes my mind. Anyway, a couple of things that she said. It was obviously one of these things to be kind of fair and balanced. We're gonna say some good things about Trump at the beginning of this segment, because now we're gonna say some bad things about Trump. I hate when they have to do that, and I don't want to nitpick here because the 60 Minutes Australia production here was really very good. But I noticed that even when there's a good story on Trump, a good, truthful, accurately reporting, hard-hitting, factual reporting about something Trump did, they always feel it necessary for some reason to also like point out something good. They got to say something good about Trump to make it look like they're fair. I don't know, just it irritated me. But overall, that Australia 60 Minutes segment was really good. And it makes me sick that you would never see a story like that in this country. And that's why people in other countries, to a large degree, are so much better informed about what Donald Trump is and what he is doing than people in this country are. Certainly, people who watch Fox News and live in this self-created information bubble of right-wing Trump propaganda. Those people have no clue what their own president, what their own government is doing. And people in other countries are so much better informed. It just makes me sick. Anyway, couple of other things I want to hit here. Here's another post I came across on Twitter. This is from one of the biggest ass kissers in the Republican Party in the House of Representatives. Take a look at this guy. Representative Andy Ogles. He wrote, "Give Trump a third term. Give him a peace prize and let him run D.C. as long as he wants." Now, this scumbag, if I may call him a scumbag, and I think it is an apt description of this man, this is his whole shtick. I mean, this is the guy who a few months ago introduced a constitutional amendment to allow Donald Trump to run for a third term. And he worded the amendment in such a way that it would allow Donald Trump to run for a third term, but not Barack Obama. So if you had served 2 non-consecutive terms like Donald Trump did, then you could run for a third. But if you had served 2 consecutive terms like Barack Obama... Did I say Barack Obama? Let me try that again because I'm not exactly sure what I said. If you had served 2 non-consecutive terms like Donald Trump did, then you can run for a third term. If you serve 2 consecutive terms like Barack Obama did, then you can't run for a third term. And just think about how ridiculous that is, by the way. So a president, if the American people think that a president did such a good job that they reelect him, he runs again, and while president, he runs for re-election, and the people think he's doing such a good job, they vote to keep him in office, give him another term, so he has 2 consecutive terms. That president who did such a good job that he got 2 consecutive terms, no, he doesn't get to run again. But a president who at the first time he was in office did such a shitty job that he was thrown the hell out and not re-elected, if somehow he manages to win re-election somewhere down the line, like Donald Trump with a plurality, one of the smallest popular vote victories in American history. Donald Trump actually in the popular vote, which he did win this time, but he won it by less than Hillary Clinton won it in 2016 when she lost the election. So if that president who gets thrown out after his first term manages to scrape by and win a second term somewhere down the line, that guy gets to run again. So absurd. But so he did that. He's probably offered other ridiculous bills in the House, like so many of them do. This is the shtick. This is what they do. It's all about pandering to the cult. That's what all this is about. That's how you get ahead as a Republican politician, especially from, a safe red district, like I'm sure Andy Ogles is. I don't know. Where does this jerk off come from? Does it say Tennessee? There you go. Tennessee. I'm not familiar with his particular district, the 5th congressional district, but knowing Tennessee, Tennessee is one of the most Trumpy states in the country. So he probably comes from a very safe red district, and this is what they love. And this is how you get on Fox News, by the way. You do stuff like this, and they put you on Fox News. Anyway, he did this. Many of them did this. There's been bills, all kinds of bills to kiss Trump's ass. And they know these bills aren't going to pass into law, but they do it to pander to the cult, and of course, to kiss Trump's ass. You can't take that part out of it. To kiss Trump's ass, to pander to the cult, and to get on Fox News. So there's that. There's stuff like bills introduced to put Trump on Mount Rushmore. There's bills to pretty much name everything after Donald Trump. I mean, if they had their way, pretty much every airport in the country would be named after Trump. Every post office would be named after Trump. Every major highway would be named after Donald Trump. I mean, they would name everything. So maybe when he leaves office, instead of the Gulf of America, leaves office. Maybe that's one of the next bills to be offered by Andy Ogles. maybe change it from the Gulf of America to the Gulf of Trump. Or maybe just, since that one's already done, maybe just change the name of the Atlantic Ocean to the Trump Ocean. Trump Ocean, how about Trump Ocean East? And then the Pacific Ocean, Trump Ocean West. Maybe do that. So instead of the Mississippi River, the Trump River. And on and on and on. That's what Andy Ogles does. That's what these Trump humpers, especially in the House of Representatives, do. This is what they do. They kiss his ass. Here's a clip from Fox News. The Big Weekend Show. Wow, that must be good. The Big Weekend Show. And here, before I get to it, here is, I don't know if I know who any of these friggin' people are. Anyway, they're whining about what Gavin Newsom is doing in redistricting in California. So let me play a little of what these Trump humpers are talking about.
I just don't think it resonates.
There are a lot more things that rise to the top. And I think what a lot of people will realize when they start drilling down and following what Governor Gavin Newsom is trying to do, he would actually have to change the process of redistricting in California to get this done, taking it away from an independent commission, giving it back to the legislature, which is really ironic because that's exactly what he's complaining about when he talks about what Texas is doing wrong. So people are smart and they're going to realize, wait a second. Governor Newsom is saying what Texas is doing is wrong, so we're going to do that too? Right. The hypocrisy there just doesn't make any sense.
Okay. Isn't it funny to see phony conservatives on Fox News whining about hypocrisy? Good Lord. But, if they're whining about what Gavin Newsom is doing, if they're talking about a Democrat and whining about their hypocrisy, well, then that Democrat is doing something right. And this is really getting under their skin. How dare Gavin Newsom redistrict? Only red states get to redistrict mid-decade. How dare Democrats do this? They said they were against that in the past. Now they're doing it. How hypocritical. But this is what they have relied on. This is why it's good to see Gavin Newsom doing this, because in the past, they have relied on Democrats to take the high road. You remember when they go low, we go high crap? When you do that, when the other side is going to break the rules or break the norms and do something that everybody knows is wrong, and in order to gain an advantage over you, and in response you say, you know what, we're not going to get down in the mud with them. When they go low, we go high. We're not going to do that. We're going to stay above it. We're going to continue to follow the norms. When you do that, you are giving them an advantage over you, and you are never going to win. You are entering a fight, and you are unarmed and they have a gun. You are going to lose every single time. So it's good, finally, to see a Democrat of stature say, hell no, we're not doing that anymore. And I sure as hell hope other governors around the country follow Gavin Newsom's lead. And I hope to see more of these panel discussions on Fox News where they are whining about Democrats' hypocrisy, because they don't take any more of Trump and Republican shit, and they actually stand back and take the gloves off and fight back. Okay, was there anything else I wanted to cover? No, and looking at the time, that's a good thing because I got to get running. Anyway, that is it for now, but thank you so much for watching. Please, if you haven't watched my video about this meeting at the White House today, please do so. I will link it in the video description below. If you have not yet subscribed to this channel, the Romano Report Podcast, please do so and recommend it to family and friends and anyone else you think could benefit from this. But again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.